It is Throwback Thursday, and we are diving into our vast CBC archives. As of 2020, women make up nearly 30% of the Vancouver Police Department. This story from 1993 reflects on how far women have come along in the force. Have a look.
12 for 12, we can head down.
Anita Jackson is one of only 109 female police officers in Vancouver. That's just under 10% of the force. And yet female police officers have come a long way in the past 20 years. 20 years ago, Jackson never would have been allowed to attend a fight like this. It wasn't until 1974 that women were even allowed to go on patrol.
We're equal. There's situations where I might not feel comfortable to go in, where a man might. If it's dealing with two men, I'll wait till I have backup. Or dealing with a sexual assault of a female. It's easier, I think, for a female to talk to a female in that situation than a man.
Jackson has been on the Vancouver police force for 3 years.
Eyes. Fight!
This year, women recruits at the police academy made up more than 50% of the class.
The question, of course, is will they remain in policing? And that's a question I think management now has to look at. Do we lose women more often than we lose men? And if we do, why?
At a conference this week in Vancouver, more than 700 female police officers have gathered to discuss law enforcement. They come from many different backgrounds, and yet they are all part of the first wave of women who are just now rising in the ranks of police work.
When I joined the police force in 1960, at that time women in the police force and also women in public service had to retire unmarried.
I worked with men and women, and I believe once you respect yourself, you are respected.
Here in Vancouver, it was only recently that a woman was promoted to senior management on the force.
It's happening. Women are rising up in the ranks as a result of the passage of time and them earning their points and getting there. And I like to see that, as opposed to people being placed in positions because we should.
But despite a growing recognition of the need to have women on the police force, they are still not rising as fast or staying as long as men. The problem is not ability, the problem is not prejudice. The problem is balancing the demands of police work against the demands of a family. In many ways, what is happening on the police force to women mirrors what is happening in many demanding professions. For Anita Jackson, it will be an easier struggle because of those who have gone before her, but it will be a struggle nonetheless. Deborah Goebel, CBC News, Vancouver.
Joining us now to talk about that blast from the past is Vancouver Police Deputy Chief Fiona Wilson. She started her career with the VPD in 1999 and yesterday was elected the president of the BC Chiefs of Police, making her the first woman to hold that position. Deputy Chief, congratulations. First of all, let's look at this story. One of the concerns we heard was that retention rates among women in the force was lower than men. Have you seen that change over your career so far?
I have actually. Our retention rates are very, very high at the VPD, both for men and women. It's actually unusual for someone to join the Vancouver Police Department and not complete their entire career there. Of course, it does happen, but our rates of attrition are actually incredibly low.
When it comes to the passage of time, what experiences from 1999, perhaps challenges that you faced in the force, are relatable to what we saw in 1993?
Well, certainly back in 1999, there had been some changes from when Anita Jackson was being interviewed, but there have been significant changes in the 25 years since then, of course. And I think one of the most significant ones is the sheer number of women that we have on the job now. We're close to 30% of our sworn membership are women. And I would say that's the single biggest difference than when I even got on in 1999, when we were at about 13%.
Now, we heard one of the other problems there was the idea of balancing a career in the police force with the demands of a family. We know not everyone has a family or starts one. So how do you think forces have changed over the years to accommodate that?
There's been great recognition over the years that, women often take on a more leading role in the home when it comes to raising children and domestic responsibilities. And so we've done things over the years like allowed for some of our female members and certainly even our male members to job share, for example. So we found that after women were finished with maternity leave, that was a really attractive option for a lot of them, and often just until their children were starting school, for example. But I also think that the division of labor over the years has changed significantly. And, you know, we have male members who are playing a much, much more active role when it comes to raising children and domestic duties. And so I think that's been a significant change for women as well.
Lastly, Deputy, appreciate your time. You were the first woman to hold the position of president of the BC Chiefs of Police. What do you hope to accomplish in that time?
Well, you know, it's such an honor to have been voted into that position just this last couple of days. And there's always a lot of work. I've been in the vice president role for the last year. There's a lot of work with respect to just representing police across the province. Our association represents, over 9,200 members, and including, the RCMP, Statly and Tribal Police, municipal agencies, transit police, for example. And there's no shortage of work when it comes to advocacy and making sure that we have a seat at the table when it comes to matters that are going to impact our frontline members.
Deputy Chief Fiona Wilson with Vancouver Police Department, thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.